Another thing that NTI says about the spiritual path is that the spiritual path is like a double-edged sword, right? It can lead you to awakening, but it can also lead you to spend a whole lot of time doing absolutely nothing. The spiritual path itself does not make the difference. What makes the difference is whether we are surrendered. Are we letting Spirit guide us in what we read, in what we say, in what we write, in what we do, and where we go? Or are we making those decisions for ourselves? Okay, so Spirit has asked us to surrender. And the next paragraph in the message says, the ego will put up great resistance to this request. The ego will tell you that complete following within the world is impossible, as some human matters cannot be left to me. And I told you at the time I believed that. I did. Like I needed to parent. That's something I had to do. Sure, Spirit would tell me what to write when I'm scribing. You know, that was Spirit's job. But parenting was my job. Right? So the ego will tell you that complete following within the world is impossible, as some human matters cannot be left to me. In fact, I have at least one person, I don't know about you, but one person probably feels that way about her job, right? That, you know, probably it's hard to surrender at work. You have to make those decisions. Yeah, so that's another probably good example that a lot of people have. In my job, I can't surrender, right? That when I get to work, I got to think, I got to take everything I've learned, and I got to do that. That's something I got to do. So again, the ego will tell you that complete following within the world is impossible, as some human matters cannot be left to me. This is only resistance to full surrender. Full surrender is needed in order to know full oneness as I am. And then Spirit says, here is what you are to do. Focus on your willingness for full surrender. Whenever you remember, turn a situation over to me. Let go of all attachment to what is done or not done or how it may be done. Make the surrender complete within your mind. When you feel complete surrender within, what to do will rise up. Follow that. That is the wave of oneness, which is the wave you shall ride home. Ride that wave and look for it continually. In this way, you will experience the least amount of delay. And then he says, do not think for yourself. Thinking for yourself is delay. Surrender all matters to me until surrender is a matter of habit. So, the Spirit is recognizing, at least with, Regina, that she's not going to get up from this message and walk away and be fully surrendered in all things. She may hear clearly that that's not only necessary but desired within herself. She may see the reason behind it. The idea may open her heart and she may want very much to do it. But her mind is still split and she still listens to the ego somewhat. And there are times when she's just going to go with the ego, just think she understands the problem and think she knows what to do and not even remember to ask. Now, Holy Spirit's not judging that. Holy Spirit just knows that's the way it is right now. So Holy Spirit is telling me what to do. To get from here to there. To get from partial surrender to full surrender. And the first thing Holy Spirit asks me to do is focus on my willingness for full surrender. Just notice how I'm willing to do it. Notice that idea is okay with me. I don't have a true resistance. Now, the ego may have a resistance, but we're learning to see the difference between the ego and me. I, coming from my true desire, which is, my true voice, I am willing for surrender. And so I want to focus on that. Because as we know, what we focus on expands, right? And then the next thing Holy Spirit says is, whenever you remember, turn a situation over to me. Notice he's not chastising me for the times I don't remember. He's just saying, when you do remember, do it. So if the thought comes into your mind, I should let go of this and ask Spirit what to do, do it. And in fact, you know what happens if we do when the thought comes into our mind? Even if the thought only comes to our mind twice a week, if we do it every time the thought comes into our mind, what happens is that increases. That increases. It will start coming into our mind more. So the fact that I didn't do it for a whole week, but then I remembered in some situation to surrender, that's still helpful to moving toward full surrender. The only part of my mind that would judge me for forgetting all week is the ego. And the ego isn't trying to be helpful at all. Remember, the ego is that same voice that told me I shouldn't be in the bedroom letting go of my unworthiness and guilt and fear. The ego would have preferred me to be in the living room yelling at Jasmine. Well, the ego is also the voice that wants to make me feel guilty for not surrendering. Spirit says, just when you remember, do it. When you remember, do it. And then the next sentence, Spirit is really making sure we understand what surrender means. Okay? He says, let go of all attachment to what is done or not done or how it may be done. Because the mistake that many of us make when we are first learning to surrender, for example, if we have a financial problem, we kind of surrender. We may not use these exact words, but we have this thought in our mind. We kind of surrender to Holy Spirit in this way. Holy Spirit, will you please tell me how to get money? Right? That's not surrender. Because we think we understand the problem and the solution. Holy Spirit just has to tell us how to get the money, right? But Holy Spirit is telling us to let go of all attachment to what is done or not done or how it may be done. A Course in Miracles has a great workbook lesson on this about I do not know what is in my own best interest. Right? We saw in the first message that we looked at tonight, I do not see anything as it is now. That would include the seeming problem that I think I'm in. So if I don't know what's in my best interest, if I don't see anything as it is now, if I really don't know anything, why would I ask Holy Spirit to guide me to a solution that I've decided on? So surrender. Well, surrender is again, the words that come to my mind are the words that Jesus used in the Garden of Gethsemane. Your will, not mine. Or, I don't. You guide, I'll listen. Right? What is it that Helen said? Tell me what to do, and I will to do it. She actually wrote that by accident. She meant to say, tell me what to do, and I will do it. But she said, tell me what to do, and I will to do it. But that sounded like even more of an agreement. Right? More of an agreement. So we aren't defining the problem. We aren't defining the solution. I mean, listen to one of the things that Romana asked us to say. How am I to see this? See, that's even taking away the thought that I know what I'm looking at here. I know this is a problem where there are bills that need to be paid. I know this is a problem where you need money to pay bills. Heck, I understand this problem. That's not the way Romana is teaching us to surrender. There's too much I know in that. Romana says, ask, how am I to see this? See, it completely takes away all that judgment that I know what kind of situation I'm in. How am I to see this? What am I to say? What am I to do? Complete surrender. Again, puppet. So whenever you remember, turn a situation over to me. Let go of all attachment to what is done or not done or how it may be done. Make the surrender complete within your mind. That's a decision, and I know exactly what that decision feels like because I've done it a number of times. But where I first learned to do it is as the scribe of NTI. Because one of the things I was asked to do when I scribed NTI, I was asked to read the New Testament. I was asked to stop when I was prompted to stop. But I was also told that in order to hear the Holy Spirit's interpretation, I couldn't think I understood what I just read. And I got to tell you guys, I mean, there were a few times in the Bible I thought, yeah, I don't understand this, because there's some things that are kind of confusing. But most of the time when I read, I thought, I do understand this. I do. So the first thing I had to do as the scribe of NTI is I had to let go of what I thought I understood. And in fact, in the beginning, I was a little slower. I got a little more practiced as I went along. But in the beginning, I would literally look at each thought. I would, I think Jesus said this, and this is what I think that meant. I'm letting that go. I think the Pharisee said this, and this is what he meant, and this is what he was thinking when he said it. Because you'd be surprised how much we add to stuff, right? I mean, the Bible doesn't tell me what that Pharisee was thinking when he said those words, but somehow I add that. We all do. I know what he was thinking. I know what he was feeling, right? So I have to really look at what I think I know, and I had to lay it aside. And when I would get to a point within myself where I was completely empty of all of those thoughts, I really didn't think I knew, and all I wanted to hear was Holy Spirit's interpretation, what Holy Spirit had to say, and I had no attachment at all, that's when the inner dictation would start. That's the same feeling, that inner feeling that we can get to, if we do have a pile of bills and no money, we may need to start with, okay, I do think I know what the problem is. I've got these bills. They're going to turn off my electricity and my water. My family is not going to like that at all. I think I need money. Okay, these are the things I think. And then we start by looking at, I think this. And with our heart, at least for me, with the heart, I remember Holy Spirit's teachings, I don't see anything as it is now. My seeing is an obstacle to what is there. I willingly put this thought aside, right? And I just look at each of those thoughts and willingly put that thought aside till I'm at a sincere place of emptiness, a sincere place of, I don't know, a sincere place of surrender. Make the surrender complete within your mind. You see, I'm not holding on to anything. No thought, I think. No, I think. Make the surrender complete within your mind. When you feel complete surrender within, what to do will rise up. And like I said, that was my experience with NTI. When I let go of everything I thought, then the inner dictation started. What to do will rise up. Follow that. Trust that. Trust whatever came when you let go of everything you thought and you were at that point where you know you were completely surrendered. And then something comes. Do that. Follow that. It says that is the wave of oneness. And Chris, I'm giving you a link. I see your question. What am I reading from? Here you go. It says that is the wave of oneness, which means somehow that guidance is coming from all of us. Because remember, when one part of our whole moves, the other parts move too. It's all in harmony. It's all in synchronicity, right? So if I make a call to someone, for example, if the guidance comes up, call Joe. There could be some reason why Joe needed me to call too. Not I just needed to call Joe, but Joe needed me to call. Or maybe Joe's then going to talk to somebody else and they needed to hear that. Everything is connected. So whatever guidance that I receive, it's the wave of oneness. I'm participating now in the helpfulness of the whole, even if it may look like I'm the one that's being helped. He says, ride that wave and look for it continually. Stop being the independent thinker. Ride the wave of oneness. Always be willing to know. And how could you know if everything is bigger than the little self? If everything is affected by everything else? If you don't see anything as it is now, how could you ever on your own make a decision? You literally have no idea what you're dealing with. But if you take the time to get rid of all that stuff that you think habitually, and get empty and ask from that point of emptiness, that point of no attachment, that point of willing for whatever, what comes is from all of us. It's a part of what everybody needs. It's a part of what's helpful to everyone. It knocks other things into action, things you may never even see or hear about or know about, but you can trust. So he says, ride that wave and look for it continually. Keep surrendering. And then in this way, you will experience the least amount of delay in your awakening. Because what's happening as you're riding the wave of oneness is you are getting in touch with your truth, because your truth is that wave of oneness. You're beginning to recognize your true voice, your true self, your true will, your true being. You're becoming who you really are instead of who you thought you were. Holy Spirit also says again, do not think for yourself. Again, that doesn't mean that we're to chastise ourselves when we forget to surrender. But it means that when we remember that, oh yeah, I don't want to think for myself here, right? When we remember, and we just go with it again. That's right. I want to put this down. I don't want to think for myself. Thinking for yourself is delay. That's because thinking for ourselves keeps us thinking we are the independent thinker. It keeps us believing that we are what we are not. Surrender all matters to me until surrender is a matter of habit. Again, Spirit kind of notices that this is going to be a process for most of us, that we're going to learn to surrender more and more and more. And that's all he's asking us to do. Learn to do it more and more and more until it's a habit. And what's cool about that is he is saying it can become a habit. It can literally become a habit not to think for ourselves, just like thinking for ourselves became a habit. So surrender all matters to me until surrender is a matter of habit. And that's the end of that message. Let me see what we have on the board.